On today's episode of the Riderflex podcast, hey, if you're a manager at any level, you'll be able to relate to this episode. Isn't it frustrating when people don't follow your direction? You know, your direct reports, you told them to do X, Y, and Z, and they don't. Oh, wouldn't it be great if we just told everybody to do something one time and it always got executed properly? Whoo, boy, anybody could be a manager then because it'd be super easy. But that's not reality. So I've been managing people for 30 plus years. I developed a technique over the years that I still use to this day, sometimes when I need to. I want to share it with you. I want you to try something. Next time you have somebody that didn't follow your direction, try this. Bring them into your office, ask them 4 questions, and tell them it's a multiple choice. Tell them, hey, I'm going to give you 4 things here, really 4 questions. I want you to pick one. Tell me why it didn't get executed, because I told you to paint the office green by Friday. It's Monday. The office is not green. So you didn't execute. So I want to find out what happened. I'm going to give you 4 choices, and I want you to pick 1, 2, 3, or 4. Here they are. Here they are, Mary. Tell me why the office didn't get painted green. I'm going to give you these 4 things. Tell me which one. Pick one, okay? Number 1, my communication sucked. I just wasn't clear with my communication. So it was me as a supervisor. That's number 1, communication. My communication. Was it that? Or number 2, do you not have the aptitude to understand the communication? Meaning, was there something technical or something you just didn't understand because you weren't trained on it, or you just don't know about it, right? So let's use the word aptitude to just summarize all that. So number 2, was it aptitude? You just weren't smart enough to do it? Number 3, was it your organizational skills? Meaning you didn't plan properly, you weren't organized enough to do it, so you didn't get it done on time. So was it organization? We'll just call it planning and organization. Was that it? Number 3, planning and organization. Or number 4, did you just choose not to do it? It's one of those 4, Mary. I mean, help me. Please. I asked you to paint the wall green by Friday. It's Monday. The office is not green. So I need to understand why. And I'm pretty sure, since you're not in the hospital or dead, that it's one of those 4. Okay. My communication sucked. You don't have the aptitude to understand what I asked for. You're not organized enough, or you chose not to do it. Now, what's interesting, what I've learned about this technique over the years, you would be amazed at how often people pick number 4. They often say, I chose not to do it, right? For whatever reason, they selected not to do it because they decided they didn't want the wall green, or they decided that something else was more of a priority, or whatever, right? But they made a conscious decision not to do it. Quite often, they pick number 4. I'm shocked by that. I always have been, all these years. Rarely will they tell you as a supervisor that it was your communication. They damn sure aren't going to admit it's number 2, that they're not smart enough, right? That they didn't have the aptitude. They're not going to pick number 2. Rarely does anybody pick number 2. Sometimes they pick number 3, that they just weren't organized enough, that they just screwed it up because of their planning and organization. Number 3 is picked fairly often, but most of the time they pick number 4. And they admit that they decided not to do it. Now, here's where you got them as a supervisor, right? Because as soon as they pick number 4, then you can say something like this. You can say, okay, all right. Well, I appreciate you sharing that with me, Mary. Thank you for clarifying. At least now I know why it wasn't done. Now we can move into a different conversation. And that conversation is, as long as you want to work for me and be on my team, when I give you something to do, you have to do it. Or we have to talk about it. You can't just decide not to do it and not tell me. Because if you do that, you can't work here. Now, they can come to you and talk about it and debate it, right, after you give them the direction. But they can't just choose not to do it and not tell you about it and wait for the deadline to pass, and then you have to find out what happened. But that's the great part about them choosing number 4, right, is you can basically say, well, okay, thank you for telling me. Now let me clarify that if you continue the behavior of picking number 4, you can't be on my team. And there is your Riderflex tip of the day. The Riderflex podcast features entrepreneurs, business executives, and the stories behind how they got there, as well as daily tips on career advice and job interviews. Our show can be heard just about anywhere these days, but you can visit riderflex.com and click on the podcast page to hear all the previous episodes and learn more about the recruiting and consulting services we provide. Contact us at the email address info@riderflex.com or 888-964-5876. Thanks so much for listening, and if you enjoy our show, please be sure to subscribe to our channel and like the episodes.